pop stars. Welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us this week. We have a special guest host who you may hear in the background. That is Bear doing puppy shit. So I'm sorry, he's having a puppy moment. But also, this week's episode is sponsored by the one, the only Denzel Washington, who is in arguably one of the greatest actors of all time, which makes him a GOAT. He's so great, he can just be referred to by one name. Say Denzel, and everyone knows who you're referring to. So good that people go to the movies just to see him. Who cares what the movie is about? Who cares who else is in it? As long as Denzel is in it. He has maintained that star power, that it factor for over 40 years. Denzel is just simply Denzel who keeps doing Denzel things. So, Tammy, I know this is going to probably be hard, but I'm going to ask. What is your top three-ish Denzel movies, or your favorite Denzel movie if you don't have a top three?
I don't think I necessarily have a top three, but there are some movies that I can like watch over and over again, and then others that like just hit a little bit harder because I feel like Denzel is such a phenomenal actor that he boosts the acting skills of anyone that he's in a movie with, as well as like he can just carry a movie on his own, like you said already. But a couple of them that just come to mind is one is Philadelphia. I absolutely love the movie Philadelphia. I've watched it over and over again. It breaks my heart every single time. But I love the understanding that comes with it. And also Tom Hanks and Denzel in one movie. Come on now. And another one is Safe House with Ryan Reynolds. And I really, really like that one. And also he plays such an, is the word ambiguous? Would that be a good word to use?
Yeah.
Because you don't like, he's not bad, but he's also not good. You know, it just depends on the situation, which is kind of like a great thing because of what we're going to be talking about. And then after Safe House, I would also say American Gangster is another one that he's phenomenal in. I know, right? Like every single time I'm looking at his list, like I'm literally looking at it. And I see Inside Man, which is what I named last time with Clive Owens and Denzel and Jodie Foster. So powerhouses all around. And then, but also I see American Gangster and I'm just like, oh, how could I forget that one? Or The Great Debaters. Okay, let me stop. What's some of yours? Because I can go. I can keep going for Denzel.
And see, and to be honest, when I came up with this, I didn't look at the list. I was just like off my head, right? Mm-hmm. And then talking to you, I'm like, shit. Like,
because you got John Q.
Yeah, like, my bad, Denzel. I didn't mean to disrespect your catalog by trying to, just top it off at 3. My bad, man. My bad. Please forgive me. I feel like I disrespected the man and his greatness. Like,
he got game. Come on now.
Like, come on now. Like, shit.
Look. We can just sit here and literally name one after the other. Like, just go straight through, y'all.
Look, this you could do a whole Denzel appreciation episode. Just talk a little bit about each movie and be done. But okay, so let me try to get through this. Okay, Remember the Titans, without a doubt.
Yes.
One of my favorites because that is like one of my all-time favorite movies, like sports movies. It's one of my comfort movies. Okay, when I'm having a bad day, when I'm just feeling so bad, I will literally come home and play Remember the Titans. I watch it at least on my own at least 2 to 3 times a year, just because I love that movie so much. And it's like one of the few movies that I can just watch when it's on cable, like on network TV with commercials and all. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most quotable movies out there. Like, I love Remember the Titans. Malcolm or X, he got robbed for that. He was phenomenal as Malcolm X. Of course, Training Day got him his best actor Oscar. He was amazing. Philadelphia, Inside Man, like you said, Man on Fire, John Q, and the list goes on and on and on. And I agree with you. Safe House was really underrated. Really underrated. And it's one of those movies where it was so good and it was so underrated. Like I would have loved to have a sequel to that, because he and Ryan Reynolds did make a good team. So even at this rate, I would love to see him and Ryan Reynolds do another movie. Another movie he was good in, but wasn't necessarily the best, but he made it better. He made it watchable. Was Two Guns with him and Mark Wahlberg. You know,
Oh, yes.
so like you said, he can carry a movie, he can make a movie. There, and he just like a lot of people, I think, and I love Leonardo DiCaprio, another one named Star, but I think sometimes they they save movies that would have necessarily been unwatchable without them. Like they make movies watchable, if that makes sense, you know. So yeah, but I love Denzel. And then, of course, that leads us to today, this Denzel appreciation episode. We're going to focus on one particular movie, and that is the third installment of the Equalizer series, where we catch up with his character, Robert McCall, who is still meting out justice on the behalf of the oppressed. While working on a job in Italy, he is gravely injured, and he is saved by the kindness of strangers and wakes up to find himself convalescing in a southern seaside village in Italy, where he surprisingly discovers that he may have found a home as he begins to make friends and finds that long lost piece that has eluded him for so long. But he also discovers that his new home and his newfound sense of peace are being threatened by the local mafia who will stop at nothing to bring the town and its people to heel, which forces McCall to do what he does best. So, Tammy, what did you think of the Equalizer 3? Did it balance the scales of justice or was everything out of whack?
It was really good. I really, really, I enjoyed it. But like you said, I think what brought me to the theater to watch it was just because it was Equalizer. I loved the first two Equalizers, and that it was Denzel Washington. I didn't care who else was in it, but it was Denzel Washington. And then I saw the trailer and realized that it was going to be a reunion between him and Dakota Fanning, from another great movie that Denzel did, which is Man on Fire. And just absolutely love that one. So just kind of seeing the reunion that came about, because when I think of Dakota Fanning, I think of like this little girl. And I just like, I'm watching and I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's a grown woman. She's a grown woman. So kind of throws me off on like having to see like the fact of I'm so old that I saw her grow up in Hollywood. Like goodness gracious. But yeah, so it was definitely a good movie, worth the watch. There were some low points, of course, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but there were also definitely some high points. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I loved it, and like I've loved what Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington have done with the series. I think they've done a phenomenal job. And I think this is supposed to be the last of the Equalizer series, movie series. Um, but one of the interesting things was that Fuqua said he has not ruled out doing a prequel series with John David Washington, Denzel's son, which I think would be cool just for the legacy and nostalgia sake. So I really would, that would really be kind of cool because spy shows and spy movies, they're like in my wheelhouse. They tap into that part of me that wants to be a spy in my next life or whatever. And I also think it would be cool just to have some sort of crossover between the TV series and the movie. That's a whole different subject, but because the TV series, if you haven't watched it, if you love The Equalizer with Queen Latifah, it really has gotten better each year. It gets better and better. So I would recommend that if you like the whole premise of The Equalizer and stuff. And I agree with you. I love the Dakota Fanning Men on Fire reunion. And it kind of gets to the point where we've talked about this before as we've reviewed, sequels to series and stuff. It gets to a point where especially if it's a beloved, you just go to watch it so you can have that continuity of saying that you watch the series to the end, unless it just gets really so bad that you're like, okay, this is not even worth my time anymore. But like you said earlier, this is Denzel, this is the Equalizer. So I'm gonna be honest. Aside from that, I had no really great expectations. I mean, I knew it wasn't just going to be trash, but I didn't know really what to expect. And then I was like, okay, the Man on Fire reunion, is that just kind of going to be gratuitous? Is it going to be like cutesy? And I love that it was actually so much more than that, that it played, that it was significant to not only this movie, but to the entire series itself. And so, and it's one of the things that and like I said, I think that was just me based on some of the other sequels that we've seen. But one of the things always loved about the series is that um, they've always done a good job with the story, and the story has never disappointed. And even though it's an action series, and just by the nature of who he is, being a former assassin or a wet guy or whatever you want to call him, ghost, phantom, whatever for the CIA, it's going to be violent. But the violence has never been just gratuitous. It's always fit in with the story. It's always served a bigger purpose. It's never been a point. It's not one of those series where, as much as I love John Wick, John Wick doesn't have a lot of talking. It's just, But with this, it's always, if something happens, that it's playing a bigger role in the story. So it's not like you're fitting in, oh, we're 20 minutes in, we need to kill somebody. Or we're 30 minutes in, someone needs to die here just randomly or anything like that. Mid conversation, he's just going to shoot somebody for the hell of shoot, for shooting someone.
For the hell of it.
Yeah, it's never been that. It's always been story driven. And sometimes, I think we've talked about before, sometimes it's so hard for those two things to meet in the middle and make a great movie. And they continue to do that with this. So that is one of the things I really appreciate. And I also appreciate that it's aged well. We know the star is aging, and I appreciate that you have a man in his 60s who kind of shows that he's in his 60s and looking for retirement. I love that we didn't get a CGI version of Denzel, or we didn't have a stunt double who was 20 years younger out there doing karate kicks and kicking ass. That the action fit who he was at this point in his life. And I think it kind of showed in the very beginning. When you walk into that house in Italy, you're not knowing you don't know what to expect, But even sitting down, because when that man pushes that button on his watch, it's like, oh shit, you about to die. It's just
there's no saving you.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if, it's just when. It's like, how much time do you have left? You got them 9 seconds left, right? But when he was coming out of the house, the scene with the little boy, a younger Robert McCall would have never turned his back on the little boy, especially knowing that he was armed, right?
Mm-hmm.
He probably would have tied him up or something, taken him with him to a certain point. But then the boy shoots him. And it's like, you don't necessarily know if the boy was scared or if he was doing it because that's what his grandfather had taught him to do. But at that point, me and my reflexes, I would have turned around and popped the cap in the little motherfucker. I'm sorry. not that I'm glorifying shooting kids, but at that point, you're gonna be about that life.
It's a reaction. Yeah, you're gonna be about that life. You gotta get popped.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. A younger McCall, like when we first met him in the first Equalizer, probably would not have done that. You know what I'm saying? So I love that we got to see everything kind of age along with the star, and the story went along with where he's at this point in his life. So yeah. So what are some of the other things you loved about it? Like,
I love that his morals is still in place. Like, it's not like all of a sudden, and we've, it's already been mentioned that he wasn't just killing people to kill them. I like that that town already kind of knew what life was like with people with secrets. So when the police officer, because it was a cop, when the cop found him and realized that he was hurt and took him straight to the local doctor, to the neighborhood doctor, who accepted him, took care of him, and then asked him, like, are you a good man? And when he said, I don't know. And I like towards the end when he was just like, why did you help me? And he was like, when I asked you if you were a good man, you said, I don't know. A man who's a bad man wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say, I don't know. They would, say something else. They would be more definite in their answer. So I was just like, that actually does make sense. I mean, I feel like it would also like getting the feeling of there just seems to be a little bit more to this story than I think it is. I also like the fact of he always gets people rallied around him. And it's just because really deep down, he really is a good guy. Like he really, really is a good guy. And that was definitely great. I love the fact the connection between him and Dakota Fanning's character, how you kind of got to see, because I didn't think of it, but then at the same time, I didn't do a review of the first and the second movie before I watched this one, just to kind of remind myself of the characters. So it was just really nice at the end to kind of see what the real connection was between them and why he went directly to her over going to anybody else in the FBI. Was it the FBI or the CIA?
CIA.
CIA, sorry. Eric, going to her rather than anybody else in the CIA. And you know, I liked that he. Let me tell you my favorite scene. This is my favorite scene, Eddie. So, I want to say my favorite scene is they're in the restaurant. He's eating by himself, and the cop and his family are also eating. And at this point, he's already seen that the cop got hurt. He already, has an idea of who did it. And so he's in a restaurant, and then the mafia guy, the young guy who had no sense whatsoever, him or his boys, comes
Sexy
in.
baby brother.
Yeah, the baby brother, right? No sense whatsoever. Like you don't know what life you live, what life you about to lead, okay? And so they starting all this mess and everything like that, and everybody's in the restaurant just sitting there, right? Trying to like not pay attention to what's going on that they know is wrong. And McCall just sitting over there chilling, just watching them. And then he comes over trying to mess with him. And when he hit that pressure point, and he was like, if I dig this any deeper, you're going to be shitting on yourself.
Thank you. He's like, this is a 3. You don't want me to go to a 4. I'm like,
and I was like, I said, press it. Like, and I'm in the theater. I'm like, press it. Go to the next level. I want to see it. But the best thing is, like, I thought in my head, I forgot who McCall was. Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. Because when he was able to walk out of the restaurant with his people, I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, when his people started going down one by one, I said, oh, shit. I forgot who this dude is. I forgot who McCall is. And when he took all of them out, I was like, damn. I said, Big Brother gonna be mad. Oh, he gonna be mad. He gonna be so mad. But I just thought it was a beautiful scene of showing the moral compass of the main character on the bond that he had with the people, as well as the fact of like he built a relationship with them, and they were willing to protect him just as much as they knew he was willing to protect them. And to see like what he was willing to do in order to protect them, to get danger eliminated, was just a really, really great scene overall, because I feel like there was an underlining message in his actions on killing the little brother and the little brother's friends, as well, and not letting them just live and continue to terrorize the people of that town, or that village. Yes.
yeah, I agree. Like we're on the same page a lot because I have a lot of the same stuff that you did. Like I loved, um, like at first when the cop discovers him after he'd been shot and he's taking the ferry from Sicily into Italy, he, excuse me, you didn't know it was a cop, and he took him
Mm-hmm.
to the doctor, and so it's like okay, and of course Italy, um Italy, the mob, the mafia, home of the mafia. If I was a criminal, it's like the part of me that appeals to the criminal life, I'm like, yeah, the mafia would be it, like cool. But look, I think I'm just a jack of all trades. I want to be every. I think that's why I write, so I can just be every character in the world, have every profession, right? But anyway, on a personal note, speaking of Italy, kudos to the location scout. Kudos to the director of
Yes.
photography. Um, Italy has always been on my list of places to visit, but oh my gosh, you made
It
me
got
want to just.
confirmed.
It got confirmed. Made me want to come home, get my passport, go sell some blood, get on a flight, and go to
It's
Italy.
a
Okay?
beautiful country. I've been there. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah. Especially just that seaside village, and but back to it. When he took him to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Yeah, he fell." I'm like, it was like no questions asked. He fell. I don't know how he fell on a gun, but he fell. And so he's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "I'm sure." And it goes to the point when he wakes up, and he says, "Are you a good man?" And I was talking about with someone else who'd seen the movie, and they were like, "Yeah," because here it goes. Someone who wants to convince you that they're good, they're going to say yes, and then you kind of already know at that point, like, really, like they're going to try too hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people say, "I don't know, I try to be," and bad people, they're unless they're just a sociopath, they're not going to say I'm a horrible person. They're and I'm thinking of the Mango Mussolini. They're going to try to convince you, oversell how great they are and
Yeah.
how. So I think most of us are be like, I try, but I'm not. Some days are better than others. We're honest about walking that line, right? Just being the best. We make mistakes, so when the conversation comes full circle at the end, like you mentioned, I'm like, yeah. He was like, you were honest, and good people are not just going to sit there and try to convince you that they're good, right? And so, but I loved the doctor. I loved him as his new best friend. And I was like, it kind of made me think, hey, if the Continental is getting a whole series or story from John Wick, I want the doctor's backstory because the doctor has lived a life.
Yes, he has.
The doctor has seen some shit because when Denzel comes back after you mentioned and he sees that the cop had been hurt, he asks, "What happened to the cop?" He's like, "He fell."
And you know what that code was? Like he was telling him what it was without having to say anything at all.
Yeah, he just looked at him like he fell. Like, yeah, he fell. Like, you walked up to that chapel. Some steep steps. We got some steep hills in this city. You can miss one and just fall. I'm like, yeah, y'all some clumsy motherfuckers in that town. But so I love the doctor. And then when they get to the point and they rally around him, he's the first one to come out with that 12 gauge. Like, what's the fight? Oh yeah.
He's
So
like, let's go, let's get it.
Doc was cool. I loved him. And I also loved the cop. And like you said, the entire village, like the guy at the fish shop, when he burned down his fish shop, that was his first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first mistake because at this point, he was healing, he was up and around. And the people, when he first started getting out, they kind of looked at him like, "Who's this dude? Like, what's he doing here?" But the more they saw him, the more they got to know him, the more they recognized him. They knew that he wasn't there to do them any harm. He became one of them, you know. And like you said, at first it's just that whole they weren't rude to him. It's just that whole protective little small town thing. Like we don't know you. We don't know what you about. But the doctor's co-signing for him, the cop is co-signing for him, the lady at the cafe. He's making friends, and so he's finding a home, and it's like, okay. So it was like it didn't surprise me. um i I liked it because based on, like you said, the reaction in the restaurant, and I think that maybe when the shift started to happen, when they knew he was really for them. Because at first with sexy baby brother, who was just stupid. um
Not
with
the
sexy
sexy baby brother.
girl, baby brother was sexy. I was hoping baby brother would have a change of heart because I'm like, he's too sexy to die. But then I was like, he's too stupid not to.
You right. You right.
But so based on how they were in the restaurant, it was like, oh shit. And then towards, with Big Brother Gangster, it was like it changed. They didn't have that same reaction that they had in the restaurant. They were actually there. And it's like they did a very 2023 thing. They put that shit on blast. Like they started recording, so I was like, okay. And his crew was telling him, like, dude, we can't go viral. We gotta go. So
I love when they pulled out their cameras to start taping.
Yeah. And so I was just like, okay. But I was hoping baby brother would have a change of heart because there was a scene where he went to when he left the village and he went. I guess I don't know if it was Rome. I don't know what the largest town closest to that village was, but when he went into the city to see his brother, who was a motherfucker, like he just hung. He threw that old man off the wheelchair off the balcony. Like what?
Woo! The old man with his
What is?
oxygen.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay. So, but when he went to see his brother, it's like you could tell his brother only respected the fact that, hey, this is my baby brother, and it's like, and you got the sense like if he wasn't his baby brother, he would be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just that thing, that was just that familial bond that kept him alive, because it's like he doesn't respect you, and there was a sense where you thought the baby brother picked up on that, where he recognized that, right? But instead of thinking, okay, maybe this is it, it went the other way. It made him work harder to try to do his to get his brother's respect, and he did dumb shit, you know. So I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah, you sexy, but you too stupid not to die. And the fact that he let you out that restaurant, you thought you was gonna do some shit like, oh, we gonna get him. Yeah, your ass about to get got. Like, you
You
know.
right. The get God is correct. Because he sure
So
enough got God.
and it was interesting. I loved how it wasn't a dangling thread, like from the scene in the beginning at in Italy, I mean in Sicily, how it did connect overall to to the bigger story, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once you saw like the drugs that were in the back of the van, they matched the ID on the drugs that they found in Sicily, which he didn't know that at the time. When he called Dakota Fanning's character, who turns out to be the daughter of his best friend who died. I think she died in what, the first one or the second one, the beginning of the second one or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember,
I'm
but
not.
I know
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been a
I'm not
while
even
since I've
sure.
seen them both. I'm like you. I didn't go back and do a rewatch of one and two before seeing three. But when they saw when he had that flashback with her, I'm like, okay, what role is she gonna play in this? You know, and it turns out she was Dakota Fanning's mom, and I'm like, okay. And seeing and once you saw that, it made more sense, because I'm like, okay, I'm with you. The first thing I'm like, is what makes her so special? Why is he calling her? Because he could have called anybody. He had, you know, he still had all these contacts. He could have
Mm-hmm.
called anybody in the CIA. And
Why
then
her?
why her? And then on top of that, it's like, why did he let her find him? Because you
Yeah,
know
because you
he,
realize she wasn't able to do anything that he didn't allow her to do.
yeah. Because it's like I'm like, okay, you, because when she showed up in the town in the village, I'm like, damn, he must really trust you or like you. Like, I'm like, who the fuck are you? Because he let you find him. And I'm like, is he about to kill her? That was my first response. Is, ooh, baby, you dead.
Well, good thing
I'm
she didn't end up dead, Eddie.
thank you, because I'm like, wait a minute. That was the questioning part. That's the surprising part. It took me a moment, because I'm like, why? Who you? Like, who your peoples? Why he let you find him? Cause and so it all made sense about why he continued to help her, why he let her find him and all that kind of stuff. And
He
I'm like,
gave
oh
her like the full credit for it, and
yeah. So and like I said, I loved, and again, I feel like I'm being disrespectful with my initial thoughts. I love that it wasn't just a gratuitous Man on Fire reunion, um, 20 or something years later, to get people in the seats to see, you know, the reunion between Dakota Fanning. And on the side, they said that they actually still keep in touch, you know. And so I'm like, oh, okay, look at
look,
Denzel being
Eddie,
all sweet and
question.
all that. Huh?
I got a question.
Sure.
If you were like 7, right,
Uh-huh.
and you played in a movie with Denzel Washington when you were 7,
Uh-huh.
wouldn't you latch on to him as much as possible?
I would.
Okay, because I'm thinking like that's the smartest decision she could have made. Because I'm gonna make sure me and Denzel is the best of friends with my 7-year-old self. Okay,
Yeah.
I'd be
And
calling him every year like, "Hi, Mr. Denzel, how you doing? I just want to say happy birthday. You know, I'm
yeah.
doing good. I did this, and this show and movie. You know, I got my prom coming up. You want to come to my graduation? I'd have been all up in that with Denzel.
Yeah.
I'd have stayed locked on him.
And they had the best chemistry in Man on Fire. Like it
They
was
did.
so, like it was so cute, especially how at first he was that curmudgeon, and then he just begrudging, like she just begrudgingly stole his heart, And so I was just like, oh, now you're gonna make me go have a Denzel retrospective. I'm gonna have to get out my Denzel film festival, okay? Um, but yeah, so I was like, okay, it was really good. And then so homeboy though, it's like the phone call he made to her was it saved her life, because it was unexpected, just happened at
Mm-hmm.
the time. But then I said, oh, homeboy lucky that she did not die, because he was gonna die. Like he died, but he was gonna die. Like for him, ultimately, he put him out of his misery fairly quickly.
He did. He didn't
I
drag it
think,
on.
yeah, I think if anything major would have happened to her, considering who we found out she was,
He'd have been done.
he
It'd
would
have
have
been
dragged that
torture.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would have dragged that shit out. It wouldn't have been a mercy killing. It would have been like, yeah. So, but I loved it, and but also, my question is, how greedy do you have to be to sell out your own people to the fucking terrorists? Like,
How
and
sociopathic do you have to be to sell out your own people to terrorists?
because I was like, that's some Hitler level shit. Like he was saying, because when I guess whoever the ambassador or the whatever he was, the person he had in his pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chief inspector, whomever, right? When he realized, he was like, look, I knew we was doing some dirty shit. I knew we were corrupt. That's not what I'm questioning. What I'm questioning is the level of corruptness. Like, dude, I wouldn't even that motherfucker said, I wouldn't have helped you if I'd known we were doing the bidding of fucking terrorists against our own people. Like this goes beyond just regular mafia shit. We are funding the terrorists. You basically supported a terrorist attack on your own country against your own people. And then that motherfucker just looked at him coolly and calmly and said, well, if I hadn't done it, somebody else would have.
Bitch!
I
That's what I
like,
said. I said, are you serious? I said, daggone it. You know what? That lets you know there are traitors everywhere in the world.
thank you. I'm like, for money, you sold out your own fucking. I'm like, you, dude, you are fucking psycho. And then
Yeah.
then when he had to remind me, and then the man, I'm like, dude, I understand you getting a crisis of conscience, but you came to him on his baby brother's funeral, and then you had the nerve to come to him in person and say this shit. That could have been an email. Like for
Because
me,
wasn't he disrespectful? I thought he was so disrespectful.
right? I'm like, okay. On one hand, homeboy, I was like, if you know homeboy is supporting terrorism against his own people in his own country, that tells you he ain't got it's not like he regular mafia crazy. He for real crazy.
He said
And
for real
then
crazy.
he for real crazy. And then you gonna go to him with this crisis of conscience bullshit on the day of his baby brother's funeral? Like Sexy may have been stupid, but that was still his baby brother, and everybody
Especially not
knows.
knowing who the killer was.
Yeah, and everybody knows you don't mess with mafia families, right? So he's all in his like, who the fuck had the nerve to kill my family? And you gonna come to me here on this day, and you not bringing me a name or telling me who did this to my brother? Nah. So when he had to remind him who he worked for, I'm like, ooh, yeah, you wasn't too bright. I can't say I would. I was like, I kind of understand why he did that. Like, I didn't understand how you didn't know this was coming. But so I was like, okay. But yeah, I did like when the people came. But one thing I also know I loved is how he never took the violence home, because we know besides when he killed baby bro and his friends, which he did quietly, and
Mm-hmm.
cleanly, quickly, and quietly as possible. And because of when it happened and where it happened, the police, the cops suspected it, but he wasn't going to tell. The people in the village weren't going to tell because he'd been terrorizing them. So it's like, okay. But when Homeboy came, you know, he could have took Homeboy and his whole crew out in that village. But I love the way he did not let that much violence taint his new home. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like he followed Homeboy home, but he didn't let it taint his new home. And when he told him, like, it became real personal when he told him, dude, I found my peace, and you think I'm gonna let you take that away from me? I'm like, oh yeah, you gonna die for real, for real.
Like, you need to go run, don't walk.
Yeah, like, and yeah, like, dude, this ain't even about his friends no more. It's like this man finally feel at peace. He feel like he can just stop and retire and live a simple life.
And this
Maybe take on a
that was
few.
trying to kill himself a couple of years ago. So
Yeah, the same dude who was going to take himself out via hurricane, suicide by hurricane. So
he's going to get taken out.
yeah. So when he was like you messing with my peace, I'm like, oh shit, you about to die. This man ain't been in peace since his wife died. Yeah, you about to die. But yeah. So what you mentioned some low points. What was one of the low points for you?
The romance. I really like the romance. Here's my. I'm not fan of the romance because when women or women who you clearly tell are years younger than the main character, and the main character is a man. So I think it was more on the age of it. On like they give him a woman for his age. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I just feel like once again that's a problem in Hollywood, and it's just being perpetuated over and over again. So I couldn't get into it. I didn't think the chemistry was really there. That's just my opinion. I didn't think the chemistry was really there in that romance that they had going. So that was one of the low points that I noticed in the movie that I couldn't get into. It's like, was it last week? I think it was last week. We were talking about Gran Turismo, and we were talking about how the romance didn't sell it, right? Like, it wasn't really nothing needed to it. And I feel the same way this time. Like, I was just like, I didn't feel the romance was needed.
Yeah. I'm not gonna 100 completely disagree. I was more ambiguous towards it, like the romance. I'm like, okay, I understood the friendship because she was the one who was there. You know, she owned the cafe, the local cafe where he went and ate every day. I wasn't necessarily opposed because I'm like, well, you know, she may be one of the few single women in the town or where he's at. So I love that it was more ambiguous. Like you got the spark of chemistry that we were supposed to get, but
Uh-huh.
I love how it also seemed like it could go either way. Like it could just be a friendship. She was nice. She was showing him around. She looked like she may have been, you know, mixed black, half black Italian to herself. So maybe, you know, it's just the other full person of color in town. So I like that they left it that it was there, like the question mark was there, the possibility. But I'm with you. I like that we weren't forced to sit through them trying to explore it or explain any more than what it was. You knew it had potential to be something more than just friendship. But I love that they left it ambiguous and that it wasn't like a whole bunch of it. Like, you know, we could understand her showing him around the town, showing him the places to eat since it was obvious he was going to be staying there, that kind of thing. You know, and the cute little flirty moments. I did think the moment about the hat was cute. Just that. But I agree with you. Um, it wasn't necessarily needed, but it wasn't to me. It wasn't as off-putting as the scenes in Gran Turismo because we really didn't understand them. Like she really didn't serve a big purpose after the first 10 minutes of the movie, if that makes sense. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Did you have any other low points?
Not really. No. I think other than that, because even I feel like in a way the villain was believable. I didn't look at the villain like it was a cartoon character kind of thing or a caricature kind of villain. But I could truly believe that there are people like that in this world, and it wasn't like to the extreme on the bad mafia guy. And how he acted and everything like that. Like, I'm just like, when you in the mafia, like, you got to be cold-blooded. And so he was cold-blooded enough to push an old man out of, a window and hang him, and then tell them to leave him up there so that everybody can see it as a warning. Like, I truly believe that that's a decision that would be made by them. So other than the romance that I saw no purpose to, I felt like every single role and character every character played the role that they needed to play in the storyline progression.
Yeah, I agree with you. And even when we're talking about how can you sell your own people out, it is realistic because if you watch the news, in the real world, you do have cartels and mafias and teaming up with the Taliban and other terrorist groups, um, to do whatever to wreak havoc and cause harm, and it's another way of money laundering, drug trafficking, and all that. So even that aspect of it, of that partnership, was realistic. Not necessarily understandable to us who don't live that life, but it was realistic. And like you said, it's not like you're in the mafia to be sweet, and the scarier you are, I think it helps to get your point across. So yes, him unfortunately throwing that little man off of the balcony and hanging him with his oxygen tank. I was like, that's a cold blood motherfucker. But
He's a cold man, Gemma.
yeah, like I said, even with the old boy gaining his crisis of conscience, like, dude, that could have been an email. That should have been an email with your ass halfway across the world when you sent it. Because, you going in there on the day of his brother's funeral, questioning him about shit. I don't know how you thought that was going to play out. Like, I don't know what type of flex you thought that was, but it obviously didn't work out the way you wanted it to. So, I really, really loved it. And I'm going to say this. I wouldn't be opposed to another Equalizer or a crossover. I wouldn't be opposed to probably the prequel series with a young John David playing the same character, or something. I just love it, and I don't know. But if this is the absolute end of the series, no more spinoffs, I'm okay with that too. But I just think that this is probably, it ranks up there with John Wick. John Wick is what it is, but each movie continues to get better to me. You know what you're going to get when you go see John Wick. You're getting that gratuitous violence. You're getting Keanu still kicking ass, and you know what it's about. So you're okay with it. And this is the same thing. This series, like I said, it's one of the better ones where they make the story and the action fit. They go hand in hand, and they continue to tell a good story. So I really loved it, and I'm glad McCall found his peace in that beautiful seaside village with his friends, his new best friend, the gangster doctor, because Doc was a gangster. It wouldn't surprise me if he had been a doctor for the mafia in his old life. So yeah, but
Probably
all
why
right,
they basically left him alone.
yeah, because that's the one person in town they didn't mess with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mister, what's your diagnosis? He fell.
I'm telling you. If he asked you that, he'd be like, what happened? He fell.
He fell.
He fell.
but
Be like, he
but he
fell and a bullet like just pushed into him. I mean, he fell. I don't know what
he
happened once
fell.
he fell, but he fell.
He fell. I didn't say he fell on top of a gun and it went off a couple of times. He fell. So what are you rating the Equalizer 3?
I'm gonna rate it a 3.25. I did really, really enjoy it. But I think this should be the end. I don't see them doing another one. And as well as because Denzel tired, okay, Denzel tired, and but I would love it to see a prequel. I didn't know that they were thinking about doing a prequel. I would love to see a prequel with John David Washington playing the role of Robert McCall. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Son playing father. But like I said, it was really enjoyable. There were some slow points, and like I said, there were low points and everything like that. But overall, for the Equalizer 3, I think it did its job. What about you, Eddie?
I'm giving it a 4. It's another one. I can't wait to add it to the collection. Like I said, the cinematography, the photography of the location, whoever scouted it, kudos to you. You did a great job. It was an advertisement for the southern coast of Italy all on its own. Um, I think they did a good job of telling the story for a man, realistically for a man of his skill set being of his age. They didn't try to make it something it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, I'm leaning more towards the prequel with John David more than rather than another an actual fourth one with Denzel. Let this version of Robert McCall just enjoy his golden years in Italy. And or if not we never knew if him and his wife had children, so even if you want to make it because I think I would love to see Dakota Fanning somehow too. So if you want to make it him carrying on the legacy of his father, that would be great too. But I thought Dakota Fanning had a great role in it. I love that it actually turned out to be something realistic and believable for this story in this world. And I love that they were actually able to have the Man on Fire reunion. So I think for a third movie in a series, I think it actually did a really good job, and the series stands up to the test of time. So I'm
Okay.
giving it a 4, and I highly recommend it. And add it to your Denzel collection, which maybe one day, just for the fun of it, extra butt or something, we can go down and do a Denzel retrospective. Because dang, I realized how I just disrespected by trying to say 3.
Yeah, it needs
my
to be at least
my
10. At least 10.
at least 10. My bad. I'm sorry, Uncle D. Don't cancel us. But yeah, that was it. That was it. Okay, so be sure to like, follow, and subscribe, comment wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest entertainment, pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness. Um, at thepopcornwinedown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop it.
Pop, 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 pop.
And be sure to join us next week when we review. I'm excited about this one, y'all. I was going to go see it. And when Tammy said yes, I'm like, yeah, Expendables 4. Because y'all know how I feel about Jason Statham. Like, Jason Statham is just Jason Statham. I love the man. And he ain't Denzel. Don't get me wrong, but he's one of those movies. He's that guy for me that whatever he's in, I'm gonna see it. Like you just tell me Jason Statham's in, and I'm like, okay, where do I go see it? So I'm really really excited to do the Expendables 4. What about you, Tammy?
For different reasons, but yes.
Oh, okay. I know you're not a Stathamite. I know Jason Statham is not like one of your guilty pleasures, or just but you know me. I'm like, no Statham slander. Like I just love Jason Statham, so I'm excited. Okay. Well, you guys, thank you as always, and can't wait to talk to y'all next time on the Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.